Hello everybody and welcome to Splunk Basics course. My name is Ahmed Akwah and I am going to be your instructor in this course. A little bit about me before we begin. I'm in the field of information technology since 2007. I started my career as a Linux administrator, then I moved to different fields within IT until I reached information security field. And currently I am working as a security consultant. Why am I teaching this course? 6 years ago, I was lucky enough to be assigned to a project where my company at that time needs to test and validate Splunk as a security and monitoring solution. I started to learn everything about Splunk from their official documentation website and Splunk Answers website. After a struggle, I was able to build a working Splunk solution at the end, but it took some time from me. Then I continued my study by joining Splunk official courses and got my official Splunk certificates. And since that time, I'm using Splunk on daily basis, professionally, and in my personal computer lab. And I'm still learning new stuff about Splunk every day. And I really love to share my knowledge about Splunk with my colleagues at work and with you through this course. I hope you enjoy the course as much as I enjoyed the work on the lab during course creation. And see you in the next video. Hello again everybody. Maybe you already know about Splunk, but in short, Splunk is an amazing tool that will help you to get quick answers from your data or logs. It's like Google for logs, as we are going to see in this course. With Splunk, you can visualize your data by creating nice reports and dashboards, and with the alerting feature, you can keep an eye on your infrastructure easily by receiving emails or tickets on your ticketing system if certain conditions are met. After finishing this course, you will be able to set up Splunk from scratch by following these simple tasks during the course. Let's talk in detail about these steps. In our course, we have 4 sections. Installation, where we are going to set up the lab environment and install Splunk. The second one, where we are going to ingest data from different log sources. The third section, we are going to explore and search this data to make use of it. And the final section, we are going to create reports and dashboards and alerts. Here is a distribution of our lectures. In the first section, we have 3 lectures. Installing Splunk, then we will talk about deployment types and how to configure Splunk to receive logs. In the second section, we are going to collect logs from remote nodes using Splunk agent. Then we configure a Syslog source. In third section, we will search and explore data on Splunk. We are going to extract feeds and add knowledge to our data, and we will talk about Splunk processing language. In last section, we are going to talk about reports and creating alerts. Our lab setup is very simple. We need VMplayer to run VMs. It's free for personal use, and we need 2 Linux VMs to install Splunk and the Splunk agent and a Fortigate virtual appliance. We have here all the lectures and the lab diagram. So in the first lecture, this one, we are going to install Splunk on this node, and we will talk about deployment types. Then we will configure Splunk to listen on this port to receive logs from remote nodes, and this port to receive Syslog feed. Then we are going to collect logs from remote nodes, which is this one in our case that has Apache installed. And Apache write logs to these files, and we will install a Splunk agent to read these logs and send it to our Splunk instance here, which is this lecture. We will configure a Syslog source here on the Fortigate appliance to send logs to Splunk. Okay, after these 5 lectures, we have data sources ingested into Splunk. So here we can log into Splunk and start searching our data. Searching data requires that we extract fields to, for example, say this field is source IP, this field is host name. Then we'll speak about Splunk search processing language that will help us to write efficient queries to find data and to create reports. And we will create reports and alerts in the last lectures. That was a quick summary about course structure. See you in the next videos. Hello again everybody. In this lecture we are going to prepare the lab. We will start by downloading and installing VMplayer. Let's go to Google. In Google we will type VMplayer download. We will select the first result. Here it is, the VMplayer download. We'll click download now. The file start to download. Download is complete. We'll click on the file to start the installation. We need to restart the machine to install this Microsoft package. So I will click yes. I rebooted the machine. Let's click on the installer again. We will click next. And we will agree on the license agreement. I will keep the defaults. I will uncheck this box to not send telemetry information. Next. Click next and install. So we have the installer completed. Here we'll click finish. Now in our applications we have VMplayer installed. We'll click on it. We have VMplayer installed. I already had a machine on my computer, so the installer detected and added here in the list. So the next step is to add the Ubuntu machines to VMplayer. Hello everybody, in this lecture we are going to install Ubuntu. To install Ubuntu we have two options. The first one is to go to ubuntu.com and download the ISO file and then install the operating system by following the normal steps you do to install an operating system. But this way it will take a lot of time until you have the operating system installed. There is another option I discovered recently. It's called osboxes.org. This website contains already installed operating systems as hard disks, and then you just get the hard disk and add it to your virtual machine, and then you have the operating system up and running in minutes. I'm going to go for VMware images, as we have VMware workstation player. Then I will scroll until I find Ubuntu. And I will click on VMware VMDK image. The latest version of Ubuntu, I will click on VMware and then I will click download. The download should start soon. I will cancel because I already have this file downloaded. Let's extract the downloaded file. Extraction is completed. As we are going to have two machines in this course, the Splunk server and the Apache server, so let's copy this extracted hard disk another time to have two hard disks. But let's have a look inside this folder. We have this VMDK file, which is a hard disk for virtual machine, and it has this size, 6 GB. So we can create another copy for the other machine. So we have two files now. Let's rename them. First one is Splunk server. The second one is Apache server. These names are important because when we create the virtual machine, the hard disk names should be the same. We will see this now. Then we'll go to VirtualBox and click on create new virtual machine. We will select this option, which is I will install the operating system later. Click next. The operating system is Linux and it is Ubuntu 64-bit. This is the machine name, so let's give it the name Splunk server. And this is the location where you are going to install the files of this machine. So choose the place where you have more space. So this is the location where I'm going to install the files of this machine. And I will click next. This is the space for disk in this machine, but we are going to delete it anyway. So let's give it 1 GB and click next. Before we finish, let's do customize hardware and remove unnecessary devices like CD-ROM. For the memory and processor, this is okay for the lab, so I will not change this, and I will click close and finish. So now we have the new machine created. Let's do the same for the Apache server. So we'll go to home, click create new virtual machine, install the operating system later, Linux and Ubuntu 64-bit. Give it a proper name, which is Apache server. Change the location. Next. Customize hardware. As you like, you can keep them, but I prefer to remove unnecessary stuff. Okay, then click close and finish. Now we have two machines, but they are empty. They don't have operating system installed. So we will go to the files of these machines. Okay, these machines are stored here. This is the first one, the Splunk server. It has a hard disk which is empty because we didn't install an operating system. And this is an extension for the hard disk, but we are going to remove this one and replace it with the one we downloaded from OS boxes. So let's do this step and let's make sure that the file names are exactly the same. So it is Splunk server. Okay, we are going to delete this empty hard disk and replace it with this one. Okay, and we'll do the same for the Apache server. Okay, we will remove this file and replace it with this one we downloaded from osboxes.org. Okay, now we have two machines. Okay, next step is to test that the machines will boot successfully. So let's start the virtual machines. We do this by double click here on this machine. So the machine is starting to boot. The machine is booted successfully. Let's log in. The default password for this machine is osboxes.org. So now we have an Ubuntu machine ready to use in our course. Do the same for the Apache server machine. So we launch VMplayer again and we will double click on Apache server. I'll click on take ownership. So I think we got this error because of this file. So let's remove this file and start the machine again. The machine is starting. So the machine is booting now. And we have another machine ready for us. We will use the default password osboxes.org. So now we have two machines up and running. In the next lecture, we are going to do the initial configuration for the machines, like changing the default password and assign the IPs and make sure they are static, and also to test the connectivity between the two machines. See you in the next video. Hello everybody, now we are going to do the initial setup for the two Ubuntu machines we installed in the last video. So this is the Splunk server machine and this is the Apache server machine. Okay, let's maximize it. So let's launch the terminal. For the terminal, add it to favorites. So now we have it here in the favorites. Currently you are logged in with OS Boxes user. So we confirm this by who am I. So to make changes to the machine, we need to switch to the root account. So we can do it like this. Boxes.org. The default password is osboxes.org. Then we can change the password for this user. Boxes. Okay, and give it the password you want. Okay, so first thing we did, we changed the password. Next step is to know the IP of this machine. The command is ifconfig. By default, in new versions of Ubuntu, these commands are not available, but I like to use these old commands. So there is a package that contains all the old commands for the network configuration. Install this package. Install. It's called NetTools. Okay, package installed. Now if we type ifconfig, it will work. So this is the IP we have. It's a dynamic IP. The machine took this IP when we boot the machine. But for the lab setup, we need to have static IPs. Also check the default gateway assigned by VMplayer. We can type root -n. And this is the default gateway. We need to assign a static IP for this machine. We can do it from the GUI at the moment. Then we click here. And we click on IP version 4 and manual. And we'll put an IP on the same range. Let's give it 10 and netmask and the default gateway and the DNS. We will add the same IP. Apply this. To apply the new IP, we have to disable the network interface and enable it again. So turn off. And then we will turn it on again. So now the IP is changed. Okay. And let's check if the DNS is working or not. And DNS still working. We can access internet. So let's go to Apache server machine, osboxes.org. And we'll do the same. We will get the terminal and add it to the favorites. I click escape to go back. We will do the same. Sudo su- to switch to the root user, and we will type the default password and change the password for all boxes user. Okay, also we'll download the package. To download packages on Ubuntu, if you don't know, use apt-get command. And then install and the package name. If you don't know the package name, you do apt-cache search and the package name, or for example, you do like ifconfig, because if you don't know the package name, you can Google it or try it like this. So when we search like this, one of the suggestions we got is NetTools. So then you take this one and do apt install this package. I press Ctrl+Shift+V to paste. So package installed. Now I can type ifconfig command. This is the IP the machine got automatically. We need to change it to a static IP. We'll do the same. We'll go to the wired connected, then wired settings, then click here and IP version 4 and manual, and give it the static IP. Let's give it 11 2, and the DNS is the same, 2.2. Apply. Now we still have the old IP. We will turn off the interface down and turn it on again. Connect. Now it's connected. Let's check. Okay, the IP changed now. Let's try to access internet. Check the DNS. Okay, let's try to ping the other machine. Okay, we can ping the other machines. Also, we can do a quick test to see if the network ports are accessible between the two machines. There is a nice package on Python that will help you to launch a simple web server on any directory you have, like this. So I am on this machine. Let's go to temp directory. Here we have these files in temp directory. If we run Python 3, then -m for the module name, and then http server, and then give it the port we want to listen on. So now this machine is acting like a web server on port 8000. So let's go to the other machine, Splunk server machine, to check if we can access this web server, just to test the network connectivity and the ports. Go to the Splunk server, we launch a browser. Okay, let's type the IP of the other machine, 192.168.219.11, then the port is 8000. As you see, we can access the files on the other machine. Okay, so now from network point of view, everything is working fine. At this point, we did all the initial configuration for the Ubuntu machines. Now they are ready to install Splunk on the Splunk server machine and install Apache on the other machine. See you in the next video. Hello everybody, in this lecture we are going to download and install Splunk on the Splunk server machine and Splunk Forwarder on the Apache server machine. We go to splunk.com, and if you don't have an account, you create a new account. So let's click on Free Splunk. It will ask you to create an account if you don't have an account already. For me, I have an account already, so I will log in. Then I will scroll down. I'll click on download free 60 days trial. In the first 6 days, you have all the features of Splunk available, like high availability and the clusters and all this stuff. And after 60 days, it will drop to the free license. So let's click here. So notice the URL here, we are at splunkenterprise.html. If we click on free Splunk, it will send us to the same location. So see, if we click here on the Splunk free, it sends us to the same location. So it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. We are going to install it on Linux. So we'll click here, and we have the 64-bit versions. There's a TGZ package and the DEP for Ubuntu and Debian distributions, and RPM for Red Hat and CentOS. I prefer to have the TGZ because it's generic. You can install it on any Linux. I don't like to rely on packages. So we'll click here on download now. It will start to download automatically, but I prefer to download directly to the server because in our machine we have internet access. So I will select download via command line wget, and we need to copy this command. So click here, it will select everything, and then you do Control-C, we copy everything, and we go to our machine. This is a Splunk server machine. We will log in with the password, we change it. We go to the temporary directory and paste the command we got from the website. So it's downloading now. This is the main Splunk instance, the Splunk server. But on the other machine that has Apache installed, we will install the Splunk agent that will read the logs and will send it to Splunk. So let's explore on the site where to get the agent. Here you see download a universal forwarder. So let's click on this one. We need the universal forwarder for Linux. We'll click on Linux, and also the same. We'll click on the TGZ package. So I'll click download now. You see we are downloading the universal forwarder. It will start automatically, but I will cancel as well, and I will click on this one to get it through wget. Select it and the Control C, and we will go to the Apache server machine. We'll log in with the password, we change it. Okay, let's terminate this. So on the temp directory, we will also paste the command. So start downloading. Let's check the other machine. So package is downloaded here. So we have now the TGZ file in our temp directory for the Splunk server. Let's have a look to the Apache server, and the same for Apache server. We have this package, Splunk forwarder, and the version 804, and it is a TGZ package as well. At this point, we have the Splunk server package downloaded and Splunk agent downloaded. Next step is to install Splunk service, as we are going to see. For installing Splunk, let's install Apache quickly on the Apache server machine. This is a pretty simple step. Let's install Apache using apt get install Apache. I think it's Apache 2. Okay. So Apache installed successfully. Let's start the service. etc init Apache 2 and then start. So it started. Let's check the status. Okay, it's running. Let's check from the other machine. So let's go to the other machine, and normally web server is listening on port 80. So just we will do like this. This is the other machine. We will like this. Okay, we got the default page of Apache. So Apache is installed successfully, and now we are ready to move to next steps, which is installing Splunk and Splunk agent. See you in the next video. Hello everybody. This is an evaluation package for Fortigate Appliance. I will give you the link to download this file. It's a trial version, so it will expire I think after 1 month, but it's enough for our testing to test a Syslog feed. So let's extract this package and open the file. We have an OVF appliance. It's a way to package a virtual machine as an appliance. So if you double click on it, it will automatically add the machine to VMware. So let's click on this one, Fortigate-VM64 OVF. Let's double click on it. Automatically it launched VMware, and we will accept the license agreement and click next. It asks us for the location where we want to save this VM. So I will save the VM or the appliance files into this directory, and the name will keep it like this, and we can click import. So now it's importing the files into our VMware. The default user is admin, and by default there is no password, so you just click enter. So we logged into the Fortigate appliance. To release the mouse from the VM, you need to click Ctrl and Alt to release the mouse. Okay, Now what we want to do is to assign static IP to these lines to access it from the web interface. To do this, we need to run this command. I will put all these commands in the notes so you can find them. Type config and system and interface. So now we are in the interfaces. We will edit port 1 because we have many ports for this machine. We will type edit port 1 and we will type set mode static. I press tab to autocomplete the command. So set mode static. Then we will give it an IP. So set IP. We will give it an IP on the same range, of course, we used for the other two machines, the Splunk server and the Apache server. So it is 9. We used 10 for Splunk server and the .11 for Apache server. Let's give this one .12. Okay, and the net mask is 255.0. Okay, you type end to save the configuration, and also we need to configure the default gateway. So we do this by running config router static and edit 1 is the entry number, edit 1, and under edit 1 we are going to add to set the gateway. Set gateway, I press tab to auto complete the command, and then we will type the default gateway, which we know from the other machines it was .2. So this is the default gateway. We'll type end. We try to ping the Fortigate appliance from Splunk server. It's not reachable. Let's check if the port configuration is set to net or not. Need to go to the settings. We go to virtual machine settings, and this is port 1. Yeah, we need to set the port to net to be able to see the other machines in our lab. So let's click OK, and let's try again. Yes, now it's working. Let's check if we can access the web interface of this machine. 1, 2. It is 12. Nice, we can access the machine now. So change the password. Let's change the password. It's usually a good practice to change the passwords from the default ones, but keep track of them using a password manager. See you in the next video. Hello everybody. In this video we are going to install Splunk service. Now we are on the Splunk server machine, and before we start we need to mention something about the best practices for installing services in general. We are going to create a user called Splunk to install the service under this user, because it's not recommended or it's not a good security practice to install services under root user, because root user has the highest privileges on the machine. So if someone managed to compromise the service, it will end up that the attacker managing the machine with the highest privilege. So the best practice is to install services, Splunk, Apache, whatever, with the lowest privilege users. Start by creating a Splunk user, and I will put all the commands we are using in this video on the notes, so you can copy them and paste them directly into your lab machine. You will use the command user add, then -s to determine the bash environment for this user and the home directory for the user. I like to put all services under OPT. Under OPT we'll have a directory called Splunk for the Splunk service, and -m and then the user. So let's run this command. So we managed to create this user with this home directory. Let's switch to Splunk user, the one we just created now. Now we switch it to Splunk user and confirm this by typing who am I. Okay, then we'll go to the temp directory where the package is there, and extract the TGZ package. You just run this command ZF and the package. This will extract it on the same location we have. Package extracted here. If we type ls, we have a new directory which is the extraction of the package, and can go into this directory. Okay, these are the files under the Splunk package. Okay, but we need to move this directory to the opt Splunk. So there is you can do this in one command, like you extract the package and all the extracted files will go to opt Splunk with this command we are going to see now. So let's remove the package we extracted. Okay. So to extract the package directly to opt Splunk, we will run this command r-xzvf and then the package name and -c capital and the directory where we want to extract the package. Because we give the v option in our command, we can see the progress of the command, which files are extracted at the moment. Now the package is extracted. You can double check by going to opt Splunk. We find all the files under opt Splunk, which is the home directory of our user as well. So if we type Ctrl D, we log out from this user, we switch back to the root. So to switch back to Splunk, we do su -splunk and pwd, we go automatically to opt Splunk, which is the home directory of the user, and there we have the Splunk files there. Next step is to start the Splunk service. We do this by go to opt Splunk, then bin, where usually binary files are stored for any Linux package, and then Splunk, and then start. This is the license agreement you get for the first time you run the service. You can click space to scroll pages, and we say yes to agree. The administrator username you are going to use when you want to make changes to the service. So let's make it admin and give it the password you like. And it should be a complex one, and save it on a password manager like KeePass or secret server. Now the service is starting for the first time and waiting for web server at this IP, the local IP, and port 8000. So service is started. Let's double check by going to this port. We'll go to 127.0.0.1 port 8000. So this is the interface of Splunk. We will log in with the admin credentials we added during the installation. And now we log into our Splunk instance for the first time. This is the main interface of Splunk. We will talk a lot about this in the next lectures. And now we have Splunk installed. Let's go to the Apache server just to install the Splunk agent to make it ready for the next lectures to configure them. So to finish all the installation on this lecture. So let's go to the Apache server here. We are going to do almost the same steps we did to install the Splunk server, but we'll change the home directory of the agent because it's called Splunk forwarder, not Splunk, the package name. We're going to run this command user add -s/bin dash and the home directory of the service, which is Splunk forwarder, and then the username. So now we created the user with the home directory. We'll do the same. We'll extract the package into this directory. We will switch to Splunk user we just created, and we will go to the temp directory and run the tar command to extract the Splunk tgz file to the home directory. Splunk, then minus C capital and opt. Everything is extracted to the home directory. Let's double check. Here we have everything under the home directory, pwd to see the current directory, and we will start the Splunk service as well. Then bin and Splunk and start. Click space to scroll the pages and click yes. The username and the password for the admin. Type it again. So now we have the Splunk agent installed as well. Now everything is ready for us to start configuring the Splunk server and the Splunk agent. Read the logs and ingest it into Splunk. See you in the next video. Hello everybody. Before jumping to the configuration part, we just need to talk in this lecture about the different deployment types. We have the standalone deployment and the distributed deployment. The standalone deployment, like what we are going to have in this course, we have everything in one Splunk node. And the distributed node, you have the functions of Splunk distributed between different nodes, as we are going to see. In the standalone deployment, we have the functions of Splunk in one node. As you can see here, the input is on the same node. Then you parse the data and extract the fields on the same node, and index the data and store it in the database of Splunk in the same node, and doing the searching. Everything in one node. This is good in some cases. If you are in a small company and you don't need high availability, you can go for a standalone deployment. But it's not good for heavy use. If you have many team members using Splunk at the same time, so standalone deployment is not practical in this case. So standalone deployment is good for testing and for proof concepts. You want to explore Splunk, you want to convince your management to use Splunk so you can create nice dashboards and quick reports. You don't need to have an external server or a virtual machine. You can install it directly on your laptop. So it's good for proof of concept and for personal use and learning. If you want to learn Splunk, like what we are doing in this course, we are learning the basics. So standalone deployment is perfect in our case. In distributed deployment, we have the functions distributed on many layers. So here we have the input layer. We have many heavy forwarders. In case one heavy forwarder is down, we have the other four. So it's good for high availability and load balancing. And then the next layer is the indexing, where the data is stored. So here on indexers, we can store the data. We have many indexers, and also there is a replication between these nodes. So data is copied between these nodes. In case this indexer is down, the data is still in these two nodes. So if this indexer is down, the data will still here. And for the searching layer, we have search heads. We can have many search heads according to the load of our searches. If we have many users, we need to add more search heads. And then our users are doing searches on these search heads. And we achieve this by putting a load balancer here. So all requests are coming here, and then it will be load balanced between these nodes. If we have more data, we add more indexers. So if we have more data, we can add many indexers as we wish, and the same for any layer. So we can scale horizontally. We'll just add more servers, and then we can handle any amount of data and searching load as well. This is an example for the distributed environment. We have a heavy forwarder here and the second one here. And there is a Syslog feed coming from all devices in our network. And then there is a load balancer to load balance this feed to this heavy forwarder and this heavy forwarder. And then the heavy forwarders load balance two indexers to store this data into indexers. So it load balance like this. So in case this indexer is down, so all data will go to this node only. And also another layer of high availability, the indexer replicates its data to the other indexer, and vice versa. So at any time we have a copy of the data in both indexers. And the layer of search heads are here. Head can reach the data from this indexer or this indexer. And on this layer we have a load balancer to load balance between the two search heads. In this course we are not going to talk about these advanced features of Splunk, because we need to focus on the Splunk basics first, before we going further to learn about high availability concepts and search head clusters and indexer clusters. So I hope this clarifies the different deployment types of Splunk, and see you in the next video. Hello everybody, in this lecture we are going to explore the web interface of Splunk, and then we are going to upload a test log file. After that we are going to configure Splunk to start receiving logs. As we described in the lab preparation, we need to open these two ports. And the last step in this lecture is to configure indexes. Indexes are the location where data is stored into Splunk. So for example, you have firewall logs and Apache logs. You have to create an index called firewalls for all firewalls we have in your network, and another index for web servers. You can call it web. So at this point, you just need to know that the index is the location where the data is stored into Splunk. The main benefit of indexes is to apply certain rules to every index, like retention policies. Like you want to keep firewall logs for 5 years, you can apply this and without affecting web server logs. So let's start by running the Splunk server virtual machine. I will launch VirtualBox and I will double click on Splunk server. So the machine is started. I will maximize it. We will log in with osboxes.org user. We set this password in the first part, and I will launch a terminal. My goal now is to check the IP of this machine to access it, to access the web interface. I will run ifconfig, and this is the IP. To copy, I press Ctrl-Shift-C, and I'll go to a browser on the host on my main laptop. Okay, and the port is 8000. It will not work because Splunk service is not running. So, as you remember in the first section, we mentioned that Splunk service is running by Splunk user. And if we type who am I now we're accessing this machine with osboxes user. So we need to switch to Splunk user. But during the creation of Splunk user, we didn't create a password for Splunk user. It's not needed because we can go directly to the user from the root account. We switch to the root user using sudo su to switch user. Su stands for switch user, and type the osboxes user password. So now we switch it to root user, and from there we run su Splunk to switch user to Splunk. Okay, and now we will type who am I. We are using Splunk user now. Then we will start the Splunk service. Then start. As you see, the port is 8000. The port for the web interface. 8089 is for management traffic between nodes. Waiting for web server at this port. Splunk started successfully. Let's switch to the browser here and refresh. Here we have the Splunk interface loaded. We'll use the admin user we set in the beginning. This is Splunk web interface. In settings, you will find everything to configure everything. Most of the stuff you can do from the web interface, but some special configuration should be done from the command line, but it's out of the scope of this course. Let's start by uploading a sample log file. We do this by going to settings and then add data. And then we scroll down to upload here. Files from your computer. We can drag and drop the file here or upload it from select file. So I have this sample log file. I will upload it to the files so you can download it. I got it from internet. I just type Apache log file sample, then I use the first result here. So let's drag it and drop it here. The file is uploaded. Then we can click next. As you can see, the file is loaded into Splunk, so we can explore it here. We will keep the defaults here and we'll click next. Here it will ask us for the index where you want to save this data. So we can create a test index. We can call it test just for testing and save. We'll keep the defaults and click review and submit. So file is uploaded successfully. If we click start searching here, it will automatically create the search string to explore this file. So it added all these details because the source is the file name and the host is the server name and the index and source type, all these details. Yeah, it's nice to know all this, but it's not important now. So just if we type index equals test, it will bring us everything. So in the index test, we have these log lines, and as you can see, there is here the time range selector, all time. So now we managed to import a log file into Splunk. Now let's configure Splunk to receive logs from external sources, because uploading logs like this, it's good for proof of concepts, but it's not working like this in real life. In real life, you have syslog feeds, you have logs uploaded to Splunk automatically. So we are going to configure these ports into Splunk to accept connections from different log sources. We do this by going to settings and data inputs. As we mentioned in the lab preparation, we have a syslog feed from the Fortigate firewall, which is a syslog source. It's a UDP feed. So we'll click on UDP and we will click new local UDP. Then we will type the port, which is 514, the default syslog port, and the protocol is UDP. And we will click next. The most important two settings here is the source type, this one, and the index. The source type is the identifier to identify this log feed. So anything coming from this port 514 UDP, we need to assign a flag to it to identify this log source. In our case, we are going to click new and give it a name Fortigate. So any log feed coming from this port, it will have source type Fortigate. And we will see the importance of this source type in next lectures, because we will use it to identify the log feed and then extract the fields from this log feed. And for the index, click create new index and we can call it firewalls. And we'll click save. Then we'll click review. We have input type UDP port, the port is 5104, source type is Fortigate, and the index is firewalls. We'll click submit and we got this error. This is because we are running a Splunk service with Splunk user, not a root user. And as a non-root user, you are not allowed to use ports below 1024. And the port 5104 is below this number. There is a trick to achieve this using IP table. So let's go back and give it this port 105104 and then next. And we'll repeat again Fortigate. And the index is firewalls. We'll click review and submit. Okay, so now we configure this port to receive logs on the port 105104. But the problem now on Fortigate, you cannot change this port. By default, Syslog is using 514. So the trick we are going to do to Linux layer, we are going to make use of IP tables as we are running Linux. Now the traffic we are going to receive from Fortigate is on port 5104, the default port for Syslog. And the problem is on the Fortigate device, you cannot change this port. We will keep it as it is. So Fortigate will use 5104 to send logs to us. And on the kernel level of our Linux server, we will redirect this traffic to this port 1514 as we configure it on Splunk. So it's a trick to allow us to use the default port of Syslog on our main device, which is the Fortigate. So I put this command in the notes section so you can copy it from there, and let's continue. So let's go to our Linux machine and we need to switch to root user. So typing Control D, it will log out from the current user we have, which is Splunk. So Control D, I return it back to root user, or you can type logout. So now I'm on root user. I will paste this command. Okay, the command is executed successfully. And we need to save it. After reboot, we need to keep this rule. So we will type IP tables Save. So now the rule is saved. It's a workaround to achieve this. So now we configured the Syslog port to receive Fortigate logs. Next is to configure the port to receive Apache logs. We go to settings, and in this case we go to forwarding and receiving, because in this case we are receiving logs from Splunk Universal Forwarder, and we click on configure receiving, and we'll click new receiving port, and we will listen on port 9997, and I'll click save. We didn't create the index. It's not like the process of the Syslog port. So we are going to create the index ourselves. We click on settings, then we click on indexes, and then new index. Then we'll give the index name. We can call it web, and click save. We'll keep the defaults at the moment. So now we have the index created. We have the firewalls index we created, and also the web and the test. So now we created the indexes and we enabled the ports. That's all for this lecture, and see you in the next video. Hello everybody, in this lecture we are going to collect logs from the Apache server and send these logs to Splunk server. So we are going to do these 5 steps. First, we will check the location of Apache log files, and we will generate some traffic in these logs. So we'll try to access the web server to generate some logs, and then we will configure a Splunk Universal Forwarder installed on the Apache server machine to read the logs from this location and send it to Splunk server on the port we defined in the previous lecture. Then we can explore these logs in Splunk server. Let's start by running our Apache server virtual machine. So let's double click on Apache server. I'll maximize the screen. We'll log in. I will launch a terminal. Now we are using OSBox as user. I will switch to root user, so sudo su. I installed Apache with root user. It's not a good security practice, but it's for testing purposes, just to generate some logs. Let's check if the Apache service is running. We'll do this by going to this service, Apache 2, and click status. So the Apache service is running. Let's check the IP of this machine. Let's copy it. I copy by Control-Shift-C. And let's go to our browser and paste the IP there. As you can see, we got the default page of Apache. So the service is running. Now let's check the location of these logs, of the logs of Apache, where the logs are stored. Let's go to the machine. They are in varlog Apache 2. Yes, we have access log and error log. We are interested in access log. So in Linux you do tail -f and the file name. So now if we go to the web browser and try to fetch any page from the web server, it will be logged here. Let's do this. So if we type, for example, /test, you see we had a log line generated, which saying is this computer, which is my Windows machine, the host machine with this IP, is trying to get the test page from this web server, which is not found. These are the access logs of Apache server, so we know the location of these logs. Let's generate some traffic. We can create a simple script to generate some traffic. I need to open another terminal, so I do this by pressing Control-Shift on the same time and then T. So I have another session. I'll switch to root user. There is a tool called curl, if you don't know it. It's not installed, so let's install it. apt-get. This tool helps you to connect to web services and query web services using get or post methods. We will use this tool into a simple bash script to generate some traffic. Okay, now we have the tool installed. Let's see if we do a request, a get request. Okay, let's do like this. I'm running it from the same machine, so I will do curl localhost like this. So I queried the main web page of the web server. As you see, this IP, which is the same machine, trying to get the main page of the web server. So if we give it /123, we receive that the requested URL not found on this server, and we have it here. I try to get 123. Okay, and this is the user agent. You try to access the web server using this tool or user agent. In the first case, I try to access the web server using my Chrome browser. So let's generate a list of file names. Let's find all GPG files on this server, and yeah, the command is working. And then after finding all these results, let's put them in this file on temp test. So all these results will be stored in the test file here. Okay, so I press Ctrl L to clear the screen. Let's cat to list the file test. We have these entries in the file. Yeah, we can create a simple for loop to query all these file names from our web server. Okay, so I will use the for loop in bash shell for I in. Then I will cat the file here for all the entries in this file. Do what curl, then localhost, okay, then slash, then $i, which is the entries on this file, then semicolon, then done. The for loop is querying all the entries, and as you can see, we generated all this traffic here. So in our log file, we have some traffic to work with. Let's configure the Splunk universal forwarder to forward these logs into Splunk. So to configure Splunk universal forwarder, we need to switch to Splunk user. In Splunk, we have a file called inputs.conf. It's responsible for getting data in. So inside this file, you will find the configuration part to monitor this directory to accept traffic from this port. So it's called inputs.conf to get the data. And another file called outputs.conf. It's responsible for getting the data from one node and forward it to another node. So in the next steps, we are going to touch these two files, inputs.conf, to monitor this log file we were checking. We go to this location, etc system local, and then inputs.conf. We don't have VIM installed, so let's install it. I will type Ctrl D to go to root user, and then apt get install vim. Yes. So now vim installed. I will type su Splunk again to go to Splunk user, and then I press up to go to the last command I typed. So we go to inputs.conf and press enter. So this is the default configuration there. I need to start monitoring a new log file. So let's exit just to get the file, the location of the file. To exit VIM, you press escape and the colon and the Q. But as we do some modifications, we need to add an exclamation mark to exclude any modifications. The location of the file was -f then var log Apache access. We don't have access to this file using Splunk user. As you can see, we cannot list the file because we don't have access to this file because it's owned by the root. So let's type Ctrl C to escape this. Then I'll do Ctrl D to go to the root user again. So pwd, we are in this directory. If we do ls, you see the file is owned by the user root and the group ADM. So to give the Splunk user access to this file, one of the solution is to put Splunk in ADM group, because in Linux the first thing here is the username, the owner of this file as a user, and here is the group. So anyone in this group can access this file. We can do this by editing this file, etc groups, etc group, and search for the ADM group. We search by typing slash in the word. So in this group we have 2 users. I will add another one. I press I in VIM to start inserting text, and then I'll put comma, then Splunk. So now Splunk, after we exit this file and we save this configuration, Splunk user will be in this group, so we can read this file. To save, I press escape and colon and W for write and Q to exit. So I save this configuration. So let's switch back to Splunk user, su Splunk. Let's now tail this file to see if we can access it. var log Apache. Okay, and then access log. We can access the file now. That's what we need using Splunk user. So we need to monitor this file. I type Ctrl+Shift+C to copy it, and let's go to our input file again. We have opt Splunk etc, or configuration of Splunk under etc directory, and system and local and inputs, and we click enter to start inserting in VIM, and I will do 2 square brackets and paste the file. So this is in Splunk called stanza. Anything under these square brackets is belonging to this block. So anything I will add here, it's belonging to this block. Okay. So this is the file name, but we need to monitor this log file. So we type monitor and colon and 2 slashes. This means we are monitoring this log file. So any change happen to this file, Splunk Universal Forwarder will detect it and read this new line added in this file. And then we'll define the parameters here, which is the index name, the one we defined in the previous lecture, the source type. So the first parameter we will set is the source, and the second thing is source type, and then index, and something called TCP routing to forward these logs after Splunk read it to a destination. We'll define it in outputs.conf. So the source, these logs are coming from Apache server, so it's up to you to organize your data. How we call this? We'll call it now Apache, and the source type we can call it Apache underscore access, and the index we already defined this, so you have to do it like this, web, because we created this index on the Splunk server node. And TCP routing will define this in outputs.conf. So let's give it a name indexers, and we'll use this name indexers in the outputs.conf. So now we configured the inputs.conf to read Apache access log and forward it to indexers thing. Indexers will be defined in outputs.conf, as we're going to see. To save this, we'll press escape and the colon and W and the Q. So now we save this file. Now we don't have outputs.conf created by default, so we'll create it. Outputs. So in Linux, if you open the file like this, outputs.conf, it will be opened as a new file. Then we press I to start inserting data. We'll type TCP out between the square brackets. As we mentioned, this is called the stanza in Splunk, which means everything below the square brackets is belonging to as it's treated as one block of configuration. And then we'll type default group equals indexers, and create another square brackets, TCP out, then indexers, to define what exactly inside this indexers thing, which is a server, the Splunk server we already configured, and give it the IP and the port. So let's check the IP. Okay, this is the Splunk server. So we get the IP from here, and the port as you see, we configured it 99997. So we go and paste this, remove the HTTP thing. This is the Splunk server IP, and then colon, and then 9997. So we configured the outputs.conf to forward anything a Splunk universal forwarder reads and forward it to this server and this port. Okay, I will click escape and colon and WQ. We save this configuration. Okay, to apply these changes, we will restart Splunk service. It's already stopped, but let's do it like this. Splunk bin for binaries and Splunk, and then restart. Not running, yes, we know, and then start Splunk service. Started successfully. So now we should receive Apache logs into Splunk server. Let's check this under index web as we did. So let's click here on Splunk Enterprise and click on search and reporting, and then we will type index equals web and click enter. As you see, we received the logs from Apache server into Splunk. You see the curl commands we did here. So this is the last log line received. So let's add a new line. So now this is the last one. Let's make sure that it's live feed. Any log generated, it will appear. Okay, well, we can do a quick test without the curl. We can do it from here. So we can type here Splunk basics course. So I query this from my Windows machine. I query this on the Apache server. Not found, as we know. So it's not found, but it should trigger a log entry on the Apache server, and Apache server will forward it. So click search. As you see, this IP, this computer, my Windows machine, is trying to access Splunk Basics course page using a Chrome browser. So we did it. We managed to get Apache logs into our Splunk simply by just configuring two configuration files, inputs.conf to read the logs and outputs.conf to forward the logs. And I will put all this configuration in the notes section so you can copy them easily. That's all in this lecture, and see you in the next video. Hello everybody, in this lecture we are going to configure our second log source, which is the syslog feed coming from Fortigate firewall. Let's start by going to VMplayer to start the Fortigate machine. So we have VMplayer here. I will double click on Fortigate. So the VM is starting now. I will maximize it. On VMplayer, you press Ctrl and Alt to release the mouse. So now if you try to move the mouse, it will not move. So I will press Ctrl Alt to release the mouse. So Fortigate Appliance is up and ready. We reset the password in the lab preparation section. So admin user, and the password we used. Okay, now I'm logged in to the Fortigate appliance, and we set the IP in the lab preparation section. So we can go directly to the web interface, no need to access the shell at the moment. I will press Ctrl and Alt to release the mouse and go to the browser. So I think the IP was 12, so I'll Ctrl C this IP and then paste it here and then 12. So this is the web interface of the Fortigate appliance. And the username is admin and the password we set. As you know, this is a test appliance. We don't have any firewall rules configured, so we will receive some traffic. We go to log and report. And this applies to any security device you have. You can apply this to proxy servers from Blue Code. You can apply this to any firewall devices or any IPSs. So the same process. That's why I tried to have a syslog feed in this basics course, because it's a common log source. And then we go to log settings and scroll down here, and we will enable this send logs to syslog. And we will type the IP of Splunk server. We'll got it from here. Okay. And by default, the port is 5104. We'll remove this. So let's, which logs we are going to send. For testing purposes, we need everything just to generate some traffic. So let's select all. We want to get everything. Okay. And I will click apply. What will happen now? Settings are saved successfully. That Fortigate will send the logs by default to port 5104, the default syslog feed on UDP. And as you remember in the previous lecture, we do this trick to get the logs into Splunk on port 5104, and the kernel will use IP tables to redirect this traffic to port 1514, where Splunk is listening. So now let's go to Splunk and type index firewalls. And click enter. As you can see, we received the logs from Fortigate appliance. The trick worked fine. That's all in this lecture. Hello everybody. At this point we managed to onboard our two log sources in this course, which are the Apache web server logs and Fortigate appliance logs. And this is the hardest point in the process because it requires a cooperation between different teams. You need someone to open the firewall flows between the devices and Splunk, and configure the device to send the logs and install the agents on many servers. So it takes some time in real life. But once you have the logs into Splunk, you can start exploring them and create your reports and alerts based on your use case. So let's log into Splunk to explore our data. On Splunk main page, we will click on the search and reporting app on the left hand side here. And on the search page, we have the search bar and the time selector. And in search bar, we will tell Splunk in which index we are looking for data. So I will type index equals asterisk if I don't know the index name. So I will search on all indexes with this query. I got no results because we are searching in the last 24 hours and we don't have logs in the last 24 hours. I'll click here and I'll click all time. So now we are retrieving the logs we have on this Splunk instance. As you can see here, we have this number of events in Splunk. These are the total log lines we have in this Splunk instance at the moment. And if we scroll down here, we will find the index field. It contains 3 values. Firewalls is the index for Fortigate logs. We already defined this in previous lecture. And test for the sample log file, and web index for Apache web server logs. And on every index, we have this number of events. And if we scroll up again, you can see here a field called source type. We already defined the source type in previous lectures, and it's important because it differentiates the log feeds. So now we know that any log line have Fortigate as source type. It means it's coming from Fortigate device. And access combined, it was assigned for the sample log file, and Apache access, it was assigned for Apache web server logs. The importance of the source type is that for future configuration, it will rely on the source type. For example, if you want to extract the fields from a certain log feed, you need to rely on the source type, as we are going to see in the next lectures. So let's click on the Apache access. It will be added here on the search bar automatically. And let's make it more precise. We can put web because we know now the index name, and we'll click search again. So these are the logs from the Apache web server at the moment. We have this number of events, 115 events. What we can do at the moment to explore the data, we can do free text search. We can type any string to search for. We can type test. We have one event with the test string as a request to the web server, and we can search for 1, 2, 3. We already have a request with this string as well. If we click on this arrow to list the fields of this event, we will find that fields are not extracted from this event. So you cannot make use of these logs because you cannot create reports, because we should have a field name called the client IP assigned to this value. And we should have a field called HTTP method assigned to the get method here. So at the moment, you cannot fully utilize your data because the fields are not extracted yet. And that's what we are going to do in the next lectures. So at this point, Splunk is working like a search engine for your logs. You can search for any string, but you cannot create reports. So see you in the next lecture. Hello everybody, in this lecture we are going to extract the fields from our log. If we scroll down, there is a feature in Splunk called field extractor. Let's click on extract new fields. This extraction we are going to do, it will be assigned to this source type. So for any log line that has this source type, this extraction we are going to create, it will be applied to this log line. Select one log line as a sample and then click next. We have to choose if we are going to use regular expressions for extraction or delimiters. Apache logs doesn't have a delimiter, so we are going to use a regular expression, but delimiters can be used for a CSV file, or if your logs are separated with a delimiter. If you have a comma as a delimiter or a dash or whatever, or a space, you can use the delimiters. It will be more easier. But in our case, we'll use a regular expression for Apache. So I'll click here and we'll click next. And we'll start by selecting the field like this by the mouse and give it a name. So this is the client IP. You can apply the same process to any log feed. So we'll click add extraction. As you can see below here, we have client IP is extracted from all log lines correctly. And we'll go to the next field. At the moment, this field is empty. That's why we have hyphen here. If we select it like this, and I think for Apache log, this is called identity ID, and we click add extraction. It may not work if we receive a value in this field in future, because what Splunk is trying to do here, it tries to create the regular expression for you. It may not be accurate. So let's continue by selecting the other field. It doesn't work because there is limitations, because Splunk engine tries to create this regex. So it may not work. So I'm going to remove this field and I will show you how we can do it properly in a moment. But if we continue like this, we can select this field and give it name, timestamp, and I will select the get method and I will call it method. And this is the URI or document location. Let's give it URI. And this is HTTP version and call it version. Add extraction. And this is the status code. And this is response, request size. And this is the referrer. And this string is the user agent. In our case, it's the browser. And in the next logs, it was the curl to query the web server, as we did in the previous lecture. And this is the user agent. And click add extraction. Let's check below. We successfully extracted the fields from these two log lines, but the automatically generated regular expression by Splunk didn't manage to extract the fields from these log lines. We can continue by creating an extraction to this type of log lines and another extraction for these log lines. If you are not very familiar with regular expressions, but it's not the best approach. We can click next and save, but I prefer to create the regular expression myself because it will be more accurate and it will extract all the fields. So we click here on show regular expression. That's what Splunk created for us to extract the fields. We can click edit regular expression and we can type our regular expression here. I'm using this website for field if the data you are using here are not confidential, because you will copy a log line here to as a sample to extract it. So in our case, we will copy this log line and we'll paste it here. So if this data is confidential, take care because it's a cloud service. So in this case, if your data is confidential, you have to use an offline tool like Notepad++. There is a plugin for regular expressions. You can use it. For quick demonstration, we will use this tool. And we will start typing our regular expression. So to create a quick regular expression to extract the fields, we can start typing like this. So as you can see here, it means that we are starting from the first of the line and get the first word until you have a space. So we got this field. And in regex, to assign a name to an extraction or to select an extracted field, you do these brackets around it and question mark and these brackets and give it a name, client IP. So as you can see here, that client IP is equals this IP. So we extracted the first field. Then we click space and we'll extract the next field, backslash and s plus, and we will select this field as well and give it a name, identity, and space and backslash s to select the next hyphen. Whatever the value there, it will be selected, and we'll assign a name to it. Username. So you see here, username is equal to the hyphen and identity is equals to the hyphen. So a quick test, if we remove this and type test, extracted successfully. So let's return it back. And the next is the timestamp. So we want to escape this square bracket. We don't want this square bracket to be in the field. So to escape it, we type backslash and the square bracket. And we want to extract everything before the other square bracket. To do this in regex, we do it like this. And regex here. As you can see, we selected this part. And we are going to assign a name to it. It is the time stamp. As you can see below, it's extracted. And we continue. Now we are stopping here before the square bracket. So we can escape it as well by typing backslash and the square bracket and space. And also we want to escape these double quotes. We'll type backslash and the double quotes. And we will select the get as a method, give it the name method, and space, and we will select everything after the space as the URI. And then space and backslash s. We are selecting, okay, we want to escape also the double quotes. So we will do it like this. And we will select this field. This is the version. And we are stopping now here before the double quotes. We will escape it as well and space, and we'll select this field as the status code. Space, we'll select this field as request size. And space, we'll escape the double quotes and we'll select what inside. And we will stop before the double quotes like this. You will select it by the brackets. This is the referrer space, and now we will escape the double quotes, and we'll escape the double quotes as well, and we'll select everything before the double quotes the same way. User agent. As you can see that we successfully extracted all the fields with this regex. So I will Control A to copy, to select it, and I will copy it, Control C, and I will go here and I will delete this regex, and I will paste this one, and I'll click preview. As you can see, all log lines now are extracted successfully. So our regex is better than the one generated by Splunk. So we can click save and give it a name. So I will remove this one and I will give it a name, Apache Access. Can give any name to this extraction, and I will make this extraction visible to all applications, and everyone can read it, and only admin can write to it. And I'll click finish. So let's click on explore the fields. I'll select all time. And let's clean the query a little bit. Let's remove this and put the index equals web. And now, as you can see here, we have fields extracted. We have the client IP, we have the identity, it's a hyphen at the moment, we have the method, we have only get method, we don't have post, for example. We have 2 referrers, we have 2 status, and we have many URIs, that the trials we did using the curl, and we have 3 user agents. We have the curl as a user agent, and then this is the browser of my laptop, the Chrome browser, and this is the browser of the Ubuntu machine itself. And if you click on any of the events here on this arrow, you can see the fields here. You have the method, and you have the request size, and you have the status. At this point, you can start creating reports for your data. For example, you can list the top client IPs, you can list the top request size, or you can make submission for request sizes. This is a very important step after you onboard your logs to extract the fields. Let's have a look to Fortigate logs. So we can remove all this, and we'll type firewalls. You know the index of Fortigate logs. As you can see here, that fields for Fortigate logs were extracted automatically by Splunk, because Splunk is smart enough to notice that the log lines of Fortigate are key value pairs. As you can see here, that the date equals this value. So Splunk knows that this is the field name and this is the value, because it's a key value pairs, so it's easy for extraction. And device name is like this, and type equals traffic, and action is deny. So key value pairs are extracted automatically by Splunk. So if you click on the arrow here, you can see all the fields are extracted. So we don't need to create any regex. So it's good for us if all log feeds like this, like JSON objects as well. If you receive logs as JSON objects, Splunk will extract it automatically because they are key value pairs. So for Fortigate, we are not going to do extra work. And in the next lecture, we are going to create reports and dashboards using the data we received from our log sources. See you in the next video. Hello everybody, in this lecture we are going to talk about Splunk search and processing language, and it is one of the strengths of Splunk because it allows you to type queries to retrieve your data and to apply some logic to the data you are receiving, as we are going to see. Let's click on search and reporting app. Anything we are typing here on search bar, it's SPL, Splunk search processing language. If we say index equals web, and we'll select all time, get all logs. Now we have a field called status. If we say status equals 100, we'll got nothing because we don't have any status code with 100 value. If we type 200, we got only 5 events out of the 115 events. So this is SPL. We managed to use the fields to limit the results we get from Splunk. And also there is commands that give us some statistics about our data. To use these commands, we type a pipe first and then the command we want to apply. So for example, top command, and give it a field name. So for example, the client IP. it will give us the top client IPs with this order. And if we click here on visualization, it visualizes it like this, or we can select a pie chart. So let's try another thing. Also, we can use the Boolean expressions. We can say, for example, if we type curl here as a free text search, it will give us all the log lines with the curl string. But we can also type not capital like this, and the color changed because it's a reserved keyword for SPL. And if we type enter here, it will bring us 10 events. So all these events doesn't have the curl string. So let's check firewalls index for more logs. For example, here we have destination port. I want to remove the duplicates. So I can go here and type pipe and d-dup to remove the duplicates, and type dst port, destination port. And if I click enter to search, you see we only got 13 events because we remove the duplicates. And I will make another pipe and will type table list port. With this query, I know that we only have these unique ports in our logs. These were the basics of SPL, or Splunk Search Processing Language, and let's use it to create some reports and dashboards in the next video. Hello everybody, in this lecture we are going to talk about reports and dashboards in Splunk. So let's start by firewall logs. So we have here the index defined as firewalls. So if we click top action and click enter and check the visualization, if we are satisfied with this report, we can click on save as, click on report, and we'll give it a name like top. And here the description and the content. At the moment we have only the pie chart, or if we want the results and the pie chart, we can click here, or only the results. So I'll select the pie chart only. And if we want to have the time range picker in the report to change it from all time to 24 hours or to last 24 hours or whatever, so I'll keep it as well, and then we'll click save and I'll click on view. So as you can see here, we have a report called top action with the time selector here. We can say last 7 days. We got report. If we click here to go back to the main dashboard, so to go to reports, we click on search and reporting app and click on reports here. And now we have these default reports and the report we just created now, top actions. So if we click on it, it will run the report for us. Okay, let's click on the search again. And index equals firewalls, and I'll select all time. I'll do the same pipe and then top action, but this time I'm not going to save it as a report. I will save it in a dashboard to start building this dashboard with many reports inside this dashboard for monitoring. So click on visualization and we select pie chart, and I will click save as, and then I will select dashboard panel, and we have the option to create a new one or an existing one. As this is the first dashboard, so I will select a new one and I'll give it a name, firewall stats, and I'll make it shared so anyone can see this dashboard, and it is a pie chart. I click save and I click on view dashboard. So now we have our first dashboard with one report. Let's add more reports to this dashboard. I will right click on search here and I will create another report. All time. So we type top source IP and I click on visualization, and I prefer to change it to column chart, and I'll click save as and dashboard panel, and now I'll select existing and I'll select firewall stats and I'll click save. I will not view dashboard now. Let's add more reports. Let's explore the logs first to find the fields. Also there is a command called rare. It's the opposite of the top. So it's good for security monitoring. For example, to search for rare ports in your logs. It may indicate there is suspicious activity. And destination port. As you can see here, we have only one event, have the port 514, and 18 events that have this port. So it's a nice metric as well to have it in a dashboard. And we can remove this percent. We type pipe and then fields. then minus percent. It will remove this column, and we can also limit the number of results. We can type here after rare, we can type limit equals 3, for example. So now we have a table with 3 entries only, and we can click save as and dashboard panel, click existing and firewall stats, panel title is rare destination ports, and I'll click save. Let's refresh the dashboard. So we can start editing this dashboard. We can click edit here, and we can put this one here and give it a title. These are the top action, and here is the top source IP, and this one is the rare destination ports, and I'll click save. So we created a quick dashboard for these metrics. For example, if you are working in a security operations center, you will have a dashboard like this on the screen to monitor the activity on firewalls. It's just an example. You can also add a time picker for the dashboard, because at the moment time is selected is all time. We click edit, and we can click on add input, and we click on time, and we will go to every report here. Click on the magnifier to modify the search. Click here on time range. I will select share time picker field 1, which is time picker we added here. So I'll select this one, and I'll click apply. So now no results found, because here it's set to 15 minutes. And we'll do the same to all reports. Also, you can change the visualization for any report if you click here. And also, if you want to add a title for the y-axis and x-axis, you can do this from here. So let's save this. And we'll select last 7 days. We'll start searching. And we got our data. So let's go to Apache logs to create a sample dashboard as well. So we'll type index equals web all time. So we have the client IP. What fields we have? We have the referrer, we have the URI, and user agent. So we can first report, we can create the top client IP. Click search. And we will create it as a pie chart, and I will click save as dashboard panel and new, and it will be Apache sets, and I will click on shared an app, and I will click save. I will not view the dashboard now, and then let's create another report. Top status. This is important if you are operating a website. So if all users getting 400 errors, it means that something not working in your website. So it's a good metric depending on your use case. So it should be 200 at the top, not the 400. So from this report, we know that something is wrong in our web server, for example. And I'll click save as and dashboard panel and existing and Apache stats. Now we have 2 dashboards, and give it a quick title like top status codes, and I click save. Let's explore the logs again. And you can create a report about rare user agent, because also this is important, because if someone attacking your web server, usually they will not be coming from a normal browser. They can use Python library or curl or whatever. So searching for rare user agents, it's a good use case as well. And let's select only 2 entries, limit equals 2. And let's remove the percent column by using fields command and minus percent. And click on save as in dashboard panel and existing Apache stats and give it a name, rare user agents, and click save. Let's click here on dashboards to check our dashboard, and we'll click on Apache. It will give you more information about Splunk. I will skip it now. We'll click on Apache stats. And let's organize our dashboard. Click edit, and then let's have this report here on top. No, I want them in the same row. This one is the top client IP and rare user agents and top status codes. And let's add a time selector and assign it to all reports here. Share time picker, apply. Then here, share time picker and apply. Okay, let's search for all time. You can also click here on dark theme. Let's save the changes and click refresh. We managed to quickly create a simple dashboard from Apache logs. These are the basics of reports and dashboards in Splunk, and see you in the next video. Hello everybody, in this lecture we are going to talk about alerts. We will start by having a query. If a certain condition met, it will trigger an alert. So now we are searching web index. And let's create an alert if the URI was a certain string. So at the moment we have URI, can say URI equals /test, for example. It gives us one result. At the moment we are searching in all time. So let's consider this a condition. If someone accessing /test on our web server, it will trigger an alert. How to do this? We'll click on save as and click on alert and give it a title. We can say test folder access, something like this. And we'll make it shared in app. And you can select scheduled, and you can run it every hour or every day. But for us, for testing purposes, I will use a cron schedule to force it to trigger immediately now after 1 minute. So I'll click run on cron schedule. And this is a time range at the moment because we don't have a current data. But in real life, you will make it like last 1 hour or something because you are monitoring the new events coming to your Splunk. And force it to run now. So 36. The trigger condition, when the number of results is greater than 0, so which means we have one event or more, it will trigger. And we'll select trigger once, not for every result. And the action, if we click on add action, we have many actions. At the moment we will use add to trigger the alerts and send an email. So first let's start with add to trigger alerts. We select it here and the severity is medium, and let's make it 27 and click save. And the triggered events are here. If we click on activity and then trigger the alerts, and we are waiting for 1 minute. I click reload, but still 37 minutes didn't come yet. Let's click reload again. So you see now we got this alert now. Test folder access. Far the alert is test folder access. and severity is medium, and you can click here on view results, and we have the alert here. Let's modify the alert to send an email as well. And one note, the alerting feature is not included in the free Splunk license. At the moment we are using the trial license, which give you access to all features for 60 days. But after 60 days, the alerting feature will be disabled. And the free license also give you 500 megabytes per day. So you can use it for free if your data is not exceeding the 500 megabytes per day. So let's click here on alerts to find the alert and modify it to send an email as well. We will click edit and edit alert, and we'll go to the actions and click add action, and we'll click send an email, and I'll type my email, and I will select all this stuff in the alert coming to my email, and I will click save. So it's saved. But one thing, we need to configure the mail gateway on Splunk itself. For example, if you're in a company, you will put your mail server gateway in the settings, as we are going to see now. In this course, I'll use Gmail as my mail gateway to send emails. So we'll go to settings, and we'll click on server settings, and click on email settings. And in mail host, we will use this host. I'll put all these details in the notes so you can copy them and paste them. And we will enable TLS. And username, you will use your email account that you will use to log into Gmail and send emails to whatever destination. I will use this Gmail account to log into the Gmail service. And I'll click save. So now if an alert triggered, it will be sent to Gmail, to the email I added to the alert. So let's configure the alert to trigger again here. And searching and reporting app. And I'll click alerts. Edit. And I'll make it 44. One thing we need to modify in Gmail account we used for authentication, because Gmail will block access from Splunk because it's considered as less secure app that use a non-secure authentication method. To allow Splunk to send emails via Gmail, we need to go to this URL. I'll put it in the notes so you can copy it and paste it. And we will allow less secure apps. Now we receive an email if an alert triggered. Let's go back to trigger the alert. I will click edit alert, and I'll change the time to 49, and I'll click save. So now if the alert triggered, we should see it here on triggered alerts page and also on Gmail. So let's click reload on triggered events page. So we got the alert here on this page. Let's check on Gmail. Here, yes, we received this alert, test folder access. We click on it. We got the search string, and we got the event, and also a PDF with the results and a CSV file. In your company, you can put your mail gateway server in the configuration, and it will be more easier than Gmail configuration. So that's all about alerting. Thanks for watching.